All right, guys. So we have another episode of the Fanboy SEO Show today, and we have a special, very special guest ngayon. Nandito tayo with Mr. Karl De Mesa, writer, geek, and overall, he will beat your ass if you do something bad to him. Jiu-jitsu style. All right, so
So happy to
sir,
be here, man.
maraming salamat sa pag ay sabi nga niya kanina nag-uusap kami before nagpapagwapo muna siya. Dahiya naman ako. So pogi naman yan as usual.
Para yes, amoy mabango, bro.
Amoy mabango. Alright, so wala nang patumpik-tumpik pa. So Karl, tell us about yourself. What are you doing? And yun muna.
Okay. I'm Karl. I am nominally a writer and a journalist. So that's what puts bread on my table. So consultant ako in so many ways. Like I'm a speaker on days that people require me to speak about creativity or writing or journalism. These are my books. Si Earl requested that I, display my stuff. So hinalungkat ko yung baul ng mga luma at out of print. So, the latest is this one, Calling Out the Disney. Wala kung makita niyo. Wala sa camera ko. So,
ayan, go lang.
Calling Out the Destruction. So it's Calling Out the Destruction. It's nonfiction. It's all about violence and transcending violence. Okay.
That's hard, That's a hard thing to do, transcending violence.
Oh yeah, totally, man. Sorry.
Okay lang. Pero anong tawag dito? What are the books? So yun yung mga books pero what's your I just have to tell them pero what's your claim to fame in terms of your writing and of your books?
Mostly I'm known for yung mga long reads na journalism na fringe culture. Usually I try to find things that kunyari both of us are in covering pop culture and entertainment, diba? So you with the geeky stuff. Sometimes I'm into the geeky stuff covering it, but of course, what I try to do mostly is I try to cover the culture of the human spirit na hindi masyadong nakikita. So fringe cultures in pop culture, and usually yung mga what we call yung mga genre stuff like horror and fantasy. Pero yung mga what I'm most interested in is yung mga amalgam nung paano ba pag pinag-combine mo yung mga ganun. But also, I'm interested in mga people who are just making things that are confidently their own. So, as an example, in this book, yung latest one, I have a beauty queen na refugee siya dito sa Pilipinas. Pero activist kasi siya ng human rights. So, tumakas siya from Iran, which is very much in the news right now because of the beatings of women and the imprisonment pa namatay kasi sa kanilang babae na very
controversial and very
kasi meron silang tinatawag na modesty police sa Iran, diba? So inaresto siya kasi may nakikitang buhok dun sa
tapos nawala siya. And guys, just a little bit of medyo new story to. So parang nawala siya for a few days. When she comes up, she surfaced. It's bad. It's very bad. We can't discuss it. We can't put it on YouTube because syempre
it's very bad.
Yeah,
basically she was tortured and she died, man. So yung stuff na gano'n, so yung subject ko na yun, nobody was actually she didn't have much press, but when I covered her, maganda yung story niya. So yung mga gano'n, I cover those. So that's my nonfiction. That's my kasi long reads journalist ako, meaning I don't do like newsy stuff. I like to immerse myself. But also I'm a horror writer, so sometimes yung nonfiction ko are into yung mga horrific stuff.
Yeah, you want to veer,
Oo, yung ganon, yung mga kunyari I have in previous books, this one I have conversations with spiritists and mystics, or Ghostbusters. So stuff like that I'm interested in sa nonfiction. When I was starting out in journalism, I was a pretty regular journalist. But as I went on and I decided to play the journalism game on my own terms, I started making my own beat. The culture of the human spirit. But also on the side, earliest thing that because I wanted to write early on, and my heroes were always yung mga writers and mga journalists na hindi common. Kunyari, sina Stephen King, sina Clive Barker, ganyan. I always wanted to be a horror writer. And I didn't see any shame in it. Parang marami kasi mga may stigma na, oh, horror writer ka, so dapat crazy ka and nakakatakot ka and stuff like that. So that wasn't my like impression of it. I
Stephen
found a lot
King,
of beauty.
nakakatakot. Well, technically, if you've seen him
Dati sobrang nakakatakot siya, di ba? Pero ngayon sa our standards, di na siya
Hindi na. Pero physically, hindi siya physically nakakatakot eh. Parang it's just a regular.
Cerebral siya.
Di ba? Oo. Pero when you pick his mind, dun mo lang nakikita yung kung gaano siya gaano kalalim yung horror niya.
Alam mo nga yung saying niya, Earl, parang, how do I keep writing? Parang how do I keep on writing the things I write? Which is because I have the heart of a child, sabi ni Stephen King, and I keep it in a jar beside my desk.
So siya, sobrang lang talaga. Creepy siya, pero the hands down. We wouldn't have Pennywise, we wouldn't have stories like si Cujo, wala, diba? Yeah. So anyway,
correct.
When you were a kid, what was your geek influence? Ano yung what floated your boat when you were growing up before you became a writer?
I was well, my mother used to say na nanonood siya ng Return of the Jedi nung buti siya sa akin. So
sana
I
all.
like Star Wars.
Sana
diba? Parang
all.
wow, okay. I really like Star Wars, but I mostly grew up on Trek kasi diba dati merong Channel 9 ata yun, bro. Ako kung inaabutan
TNG na inaabutan ko. Nag-original series ba sila sa Channel 9? Hindi, no?
Meron silang original, as in sina Shatner pa.
Sina Shatner.
Or it's probably 13 ata. Kasabay nung same day siya ng Simpsons eh, I think.
Simpsons was 9, so baka nga 13 si
Baka 13 siya.
Baka 13 nga.
So this is my early geek stuff. So mas Trek. It was only later that I was able to watch ng Star Wars on my own money. Kasi di ba mahirap bumili ng DVD dati. VCD pa ata. So lahat inabutan namin yan ni Earl. Lahat ng format inabutan namin, pati yung mga tinatagong mga VHS, di ba?
Hindi na uso dito yung yung laser disc na higante.
Yung malaki.
Yung malaki.
Nalala ko yun.
Yung
piniflip pa, bro.
Oo. Isang movie lang napanood ko sa ganun.
Wala akong ganun. Pero nakita ko yun. Like, sabi ko, saka bibili yung player na to. Pero meron sa roon.
Para sa movie. Meron. Ang mas mahirap pa hanapin is yung machine for the laserdisc. Pero marami ka tayong makikita eh. Pero naman si Shopee dyan eh.
Mababa pala yung resolution nun. Pero yung vinyl, dude, if I only had known that tape and vinyl would make a comeback. Hindi ko pinagtatapon yung mga inayupak na pinamana sa akin. Pero yung mga 90s tapes natin, like, Jesus.
Musical influences mo. Kasi I know musical influences ties in deeply kahit ako when I write or when I do my blogs. I always listen to music. For you, there's definitely a soundtrack or a playlist that you were listening to when you were writing your books. What could you share some of them?
It's funny because I also have a project as I don't call myself a musician, but as a noisician, my project din ako as Dark Horse. Parang 9 Inch Nails yan. Pero growing up, I grew up to a lot of the similar 90s rock bands, sina Wolfgang, Razorback. I really like grunge, but in the 90s, I was, can you believe I was pretty much a goth man. As in,
what?
Yeah, hindi in the CUC in the band sense kasi very post-punk sila, but I was later into that. Pero nung 90s nga, parang the goth thing was very much into my liking. Parang, pained. Like precursor ng emo, di ba?
Oo.
So
I'm
that was
actually
me.
envious sa inyo kasi ikaw may access ka sa GOT, ako wala, so it's just pop music all the way. But if I had if my dad, I mean I love my dad, he introduced the rock genre to me, pero if he was more eclectic yung mga ganun, siguro I would probably be listening to that. Pero yun lang, so far. Inggit much ako in that sense kasi gusto ko yung mga ganun. Gusto ko
May tape, sinuwerte ata ako kasi may tape trading akong nakuha. I don't even remember it now kasi syempre pinakawala ko na lahat ng tape ko. But it was through the tape trading that I became a goth. Parang, and the metalhead eventually.
Were you into the whole clothing? Hindi naman.
I wanted to be. It was just all black, and I thought like, okay, this is a nice uniform. I don't need to like think about what I'm going to wear today. It's just black, grayish black,
Yeah.
light black, super black. Kung may Vanta black nga nun, baka pwede ko pa isuot man eh. Parang, ang ganda nito, super deep black. Ganyan. Pero yun, eventually I got into harder stuff like the growly death metal things. Nowadays, I'm very much into black metal, but I did play for a few bands na when I eventually got into music, as in when I played. I was the guitarist of Bizcocho Halima, which is a post-rock band. And then eventually gone to Army, which was a very weird, noisy, mostly sludge metal band. And they call it post-metal kasi instrumental kami dati. So they tend to like put post in anything that's weird and then append. Kung metal siya, kung heavy ka, doon ka sa metal. Kung hindi ka masyadong heavy, doon ka sa post-rock. So
So yun nga, music wise mo, what was when you were doing some of your books, what were the most memorable
the
songs?
soundtracks, yeah. When I was doing fiction, I usually don't do music when I write non-fiction. Pero when I was doing the horror books, Genius of the Shaman, tsaka yung Damaged People, I was mostly listening to 90s stuff and then early 2000 stuff. So the grunge, the big grunge albums like Nevermind, yung Pearl Jam's 10, Vitalogy, medyo not so much Vitalogy, but ano ba yung pangalawa nila? So it's 10 and then the white one with the lamb. I forget ko ano yung ano niya.
Also.
So which was really good. So everybody was trying to play that on guitar and I didn't learn guitar until much later. Pero nung doing my music and writing, mostly I want to eventually when I thought about parang paano ko ba mapapabetter yung writing ko kapag may music ako. Inalis ko na yung words. So usually I listen to post-rock, yung mga 60 Tides Nebula, mga ganyan, mga
so more instrumental, more heavy ang heavy yung
yung walang lyrics, walang vocalist.
Sabagay kasi pag nag-aano ka na parang biglang marami ka ng pages na nasusulat eh. No? When you're playing, when you're in the zone, yun yung sinasabi nilang in the zone for sportsmen, for writers, we also do have the in the zone thing. We just don't know what we call it, but we have our zone thing na pagka nakuha mo yung tamang timpla, you're writing 10-15 pages, mabilis lang sa'yo yun eh. Mag-work ka na lang gabi na, di ba? There were times, di ba?
It's funny kasi for quite a while, I investigated yung ganong states, yung tinatawag na flow state. Parang pag creative ka, you need to be parang looking into that. Kasi, you know, the feeling, di ba, na parang nawawalan ka ng oras. Parang, tapos na pala yung pero naka 4 hours ka na. Parang, people who play video games are the same way. Like, one level na lang. Tapos, tumitilak na yung manok. Umaga na pala, or madaling araw na. So, that's the sign of a really good game, by the way.
So what are your gaming choices right now? Kasi minsan nagkikita ko yung mga post ng mga games na parang, teka lang, si Tito naglalaro ng mga naiinggit na naman ako. Wala akong time. Pero yun, what are your games right now?
Yun yung problema natin, di ba? Parang back in the day, we didn't have money for games and hindi ako very often sa yung computer shops na community
or
gaming,
rentals,
di ba? But ako kasi personally, I don't play well with others, so RPGs
are the best choices.
Recently, I finished yung 3 years ago ata yung Jedi, yung
Fallen Order?
Fallen Order. And then now somebody gave me, apparently, tinignan ko yung library ko. Meron pa lang nagpahiram sa akin or nagbigay. Actually, hindi ko alam. Kung kanino man yung Uncharted 4, babalik ko sa'yo. Babalik ko sa'yo. Huwag kang mag-alala. Sabihin mo lang sa akin kung
Mag-comment
mapanood
ka,
mo to.
mag-comment.
Oh, please, mag-comment ka. Like and subscribe na rin kayo. So, yun yung tinatapos ko. I did finish the usual stuff like nung pandemic, ang dami kong nalaro. Si Last of Us Part 2. Inulit ko yung Part 1 actually twice. So I really like RPGs. Di masyadong open world, but wag masyadong linear. Like Assassin's Creed is a big one. You and I both like that. So hindi ko pa nalaro yung mga bago at all. Yung Egypt, yung Vikings. Tumigil ako dun sa ano eh.
Sa Greek ba yung Odyssey? Ay, Odyssey ba nalaro mo? Hindi.
Di ko pa rin nalaro, bro.
Parang kailangan mo, kung gusto mo mabugbog si Socrates.
Yung Indian. Three, yan. Oo. So, okay naman yung Greek.
Does it help? I mean, does gaming help when you write or you're doing what, or when you're having writer's block?
Not really. Gaming helps me decompress mentally. Kasi I'm also a martial arts coach. I teach Muay Thai and I practice grappling. I used to be I competed quite a few times, pero I started late, so it's hard for the body to keep.
Actually, guys, nung
hirap yung competition.
Nung na-meet ko si Karl, parang I wasn't expecting that. Tapos parang nakikita ko sa mga poses, pucha, nag-BJJ na to nag-jiu-jitsu na, parang wow, okay, teka, parang you gave me hope, sir. You gave me hope na pwede pa ako mag-jiu-jitsu.
Yes. Oh,
diba? We'll get to that later, pero let's just wrap up for your writing. So, how did you get started with writing? Or how did you get up writing? How did you get or earn money from writing? And siguro, how did we end up getting in the same circle, which is, entertainment blogging or entertainment writing?
Yeah. Growing up my heroes were always writers, and I wanted to parang how can I make a living writing? And eventually I realized you can't make a living sa Pilipinas doing fiction. And I actually studied writing in college, creative writing. That was my major of fiction. Useless motherfucker. should have done nursing or something like science-based. Pero of course, if you are set on doing an art, you don't think about it when you're growing up. You just want to do it. So when I started that, I discovered that one of the easiest ways probably to transition into is journalism. So I started as a rookie reporter, late 90s, as in 1999. And then eventually, sabi ko, I can do this on the side. I mean, doing fiction on the side. So, nung nag-start ako, I was mostly doing music, actually, coverage. Na lang ako, nagkalakas ng loob, daming daga dati sa puso. Kasi nga, you don't know how to compare yourself with other people. And it's hard to find mentors.
Dito may imposter syndrome ka eh. Even if you get recognized already and people actually legit know that you're this guy, you do this guy. May lagi may tumatakbo sa utak mo pa rin.
How do you know, diba? Kasi subjective yung arts eh. It's when eventually I discovered athletics nga and martial arts, like okay, ito yung walang man, if you work hard, you win. And winning is the binary like 1-0 lang. You win, you don't win, okay. So, pero nung starting out nga, and yun, sige, mag-journalism lang ako para sometimes I do run through kids through that Venn diagram called the Ikigai when I give talks. So, ano yung Venn diagram na overlapping mga circles? Ano yung magbibigay sa iyo ng saya pero hindi ka nababayaran? Ano yung mababayaran ka pero hindi ka passionate, yes, and stuff like that. It's all about finding that actual reason to exist as while you are actually parang able to live
Yeah.
um,
You're able to move.
comfortably enough,
Oo.
like
True.
to buy these books that you want and
Or buy these toys
sa
that you
likod ni
really
Earl,
don't
di ba?
want. But you
Like,
just like to look at
di
it.
ba? Kasi deprived tayo nung bata tayo, di tayo
Hindi tayo.
nakakabili ng ganyan.
Yes. At saka kahit
And
anak
then,
mayaman ka nung bata tayo, hindi pa rin ganun kadali yung access sa laruan eh. So yeah, 'di ba? Laging kay Tito sa US, kay Ninang sa Japan, 'di ba? So at least 'di ba?
mismo, mismo. So ngayon, ang dilemma natin, Earl, is wala tayong oras maglaro ng mga binili natin.
Yes.
Yung Steam sale is always a big problem for me kasi parang kailan ko ba mabalalaro ng lahat to? Nagsa-stockpile lang ako ng laro, di ba? So parang useless. Pero yun, sorry, balik tayo doon sa question mo na
Yeah. So yun nga, how did
how
you
do
got
we
into
end
you
up
got
in
into your music music beat mo na ang starting mo, but then you decided to, get into a little bit of side hustle sa horror or
I think
sorry.
pinabili lang ako ng suka dati sa entertainment beat. As in, walang ibang tao kasi maliit yung newsroom. Sabi, manood ka nga nung pelikula. Local pa ata yan. I think, interviewin mo yung director. Tapos, madali lang yan. Mga old school editor, ganyan lahat. Magkakatunog. Kaya yan! Mata ka lang doon. 800 words lang. So, okay, ginawa ko. Like, didn't know for shit what I was doing. so eventually, nag-improve naman. Okay, mas pinadalas akong pinabili ng suka. So, eventually,
Tapos,
ayun,
naalala ko pa yung nanood tayo
nagkita na
ng
tayo.
Yeah.
Paano
Naalala ko,
premiere na?
ang isang beses na nanood kami ni Karl was yung Bohemian Rhapsody and we were talking about we were talking shit about the movie. Not because it's bad, pero kasi sabi namin na si Brian May was a diva. Di ba? Alam mo yun, di ba? Di ba? Brian May is a diva. He is still a diva. Pero he earned the right to be a diva because he's a goddamn rock star and he's also an astrophysicist. So, shut up na lang tayo, di ba?
Shut up na lang kayo. He rose up from the Egyptian ghetto to rock the world, di ba?
With the hair.
And many people didn't. Oh, we were talking about it. Many people didn't know what the fuck he was. They thought he was like, di ba, Middle Eastern and stuff like that. Guys, Egyptian. So,
yeah. Well, he's Egyptian. That's why he knows the stars.
Oh,
diba? He knows his shit and his stars kasi he's Egyptian.
He knows his shit, man.
Ayan. So, you learned how to be, jiu-jitsu you're at a late age. So, what was the challenge when you started there? Parang
isa pa yung pinabili ng suka moment, parang walang magko-cover ng MMA event. Punta ako, tapos sabi ko, okay, eventually wala akong kaalam-alam, ano ba nagyayakapan yung mga inayupak, di ba? Kailan ko magsasapa, MMA, mixed martial, mixing pala to.
What year was this? What year was this?
I think first time ako pinag-cover was 2010, 2011.
Okay.
Eventually, I graduated into yung C1 Championship, which is the biggest one in Asia right now. And then I covered UFC na. But back then, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing and why the fuck they were hugging each other. Diba? Pero ang galing, what's up? Mag-choke na lang, tapos biglang, first time ko nakita nakatulog dahil sa choke. Oh my God, pwede pala yan, ganun. Tapos nung eventually, naranasan ko ng chino-choke ako, like, para palang
nag-flash ba? Nag-flash?
Sabi ko, ganun pala yun. Tapos di ako nakatulog. Yeah, so I started studying jiu-jitsu just to know what the fuck was going on and to kasi madalas I prefer immersing myself into these subcultures. That's why I write about them in my books kasi parang eventually I garner enough body of work na okay, we can put this, somebody will be interested to read this. Yun, for MMA, which is mostly in this book, the violence stuff. I started doing a couple of classes of jiu-jitsu. I've actually done like, when I started, I hopped schools, 3 or 4 of them, and until I landed on one that I liked, or like one that was when I say like, it was just nearby.
Mm-mm.
Like, the instructors were mostly agreeable, ganyan. And then I eventually left jiu-jitsu. I now practice Brazilian luta libre, and I have a belt in that. So nung the martial arts, I started late. I was 35 na ata, 36. And then I started competing mga 38 years old na. Sabi ko, I can't like, bago ako mag-40, I need to
Kailangan,
compete. And sabi ko, I need to experience yung competition. And it's so different just from, yung diferensya na yun, parang naglalaro ka ng video games. And then bigla ka na sa arena, naglalaro ka ng video games. Magkaiba. Ingay, daming tao. So yung competition that, one of the first that I had was like sa MOA. So it was one of the activity areas, and it's open space.
Yung sa labas o sa gitna?
Sa labas, man. Sa labas siya. One of the activity areas. So, di ba may tatlo ata sila, yung marapit sa Ferris wheel. Nakita ko yung Ferris wheel from there. So,
so yun yung nasa labas nga. Yung mainit.
Man. Tapos syempre, daming syempre, hindi naman ako athlete. And I prepared as much as I could. But sobrang dinadaga yung puso ko kasi nga hindi ako prepared doon sa dami ng tao. Yung medyo introverted ako. So, I don't like people watching me. Like, kaya ako ma-RPG. Ayokong may, like, naglalaro ba tayo? So, you're watching me play?
Yeah. Parang awkward eh.
It's the same thing, except magnified 100 times more. So, one of my coaches was there naman. And shout out to Coach Esty because she's a SEA Games gold medalist and she guided me through the experience. Part of it. Wala kasi yung master namin doon, yung Brazilian guy, si who's also MMA fighter, si Afonso Sego. But si Coach Esty was there, who was also competing and was guiding me and other students of hers. So magka-teammate kami. And then when I competed, walang nag-show up dun sa bracket ko. So tinanggap ko lang yung medal. I'm like, may ganun eh. Parang wala kang ka-weight class. Hindi naman ako
pwedeng ano.
Oo. So there's another, what we call the absolute bracket. So yung medyo magkaka-weight class. Kayo naman magko-compete. So that comes after your weight class competition. So natapatan ako ng another person who was a weight class higher. So ako was in the 155. Nag-reduce lang ako ng couple of pounds. And nag-weight loss ako ng 2 to 3 pounds. Because naturally, I'm 155, 156. I think the levy was like 150, 52. So may ceiling siya. Okay. Anyway. So nakatapat ako ng MMA fighter galing Boracay, man. If you would see this dude, is so maliit siya. Pero grabe, triple ko.
In mass or in ano?
In mass.
In mass.
Dude, okay. Meron siyang mga photos na nagba-bodybuilding siya. As in, tatlo lang ganito. So parang, sabi ko, still, pero ganun talaga. Kasi I trained like for 3 months. And hindi ako aalis ng tournament nang hindi lumalaban. I mean, lumalaban.
Yeah, oo.
You know,
nandun ka na eh.
Nandun na ako, men.
Tapos, ka na.
Oo. Nag-warm up na ako, everything. Actually, normenta pa kami ni Mrs. ng hotel. So, nandun na kami ng kinagabihan. May Airbnb na malapit. Ganyan. Anyway, so it was a fun experience, but I'm not a competition athlete, but it was a fun experience. I competed a few times later then, but that was the most, iba pala talaga kapag athlete ka. There are so many things that you need to be thinking about when you are transitioning from the liberal arts to the martial arts.
Yeah.
Iba talaga siya. So it was fun and it was a learning experience because I lost. So dalawa lang naman kami dun sa bracket na yon.
Did he beat you up badly or did what happened?
Oh, I did not tap, man. The referee actually stopped the fight.
Oh, wait,
sabi niya kasi
that's kind of bad.
It's pretty bad, man. Sabi niya I didn't want him to break your arm. Kasi laki talaga niya, dude. I wasn't going to tap.
May rule sila na pagka if you don't tap, talagang tutuloy nila yung lock when especially when competition, 'di ba? So you have to tap. You have to tap talaga. Learn when to tap.
Hindi pa naman kasi masakit, but I think that was mostly may adrenaline kasi kaya hindi masakit. Meron kasi mga moments na wala kang maramdaman eh.
Oo.
And that was one of them.
Tito na yung edad natin, so yung akala mo okay pa tayo maya-maya pag-uwi natin
Hindi
doon na
talaga.
mas sumasakit
Hindi
yung mga
talaga,
likod
man.
natin.
You cannot go up against like somebody who's been doing this for a couple of years to somebody who's
Mm-mm.
been like training hard for a year lang, and then I trained really hard for 3 months. Malayo pa rin. Marami
Hindi pa
talagang
rin.
yung hard work na sinasabi nila for athletes, especially combat sports athletes. Um, what I try to do these days is try to just channel a bit of that discipline into the liberal arts that I do, whether it's making music or writing or delivering talks, even the photography. I have some photography, and it's like just be constant in your practice of your art. And at some point, dahil sa gamification,
Mm-mm.
you're having fun and you're constantly training, which is just basically exercise with a purpose. You will get better, and at some point yung breakthrough na yon, magugulat ka na lang, hey, I'm 50% better now.
Yeah. Setting goals. What are your guide, or what are your quick tips when you want people to set goals, not just for writing but for doing when they start doing the martial arts, or anything in between?
Good question.
What's a guide for you that you can share with our
Okay, really
listeners
good
and
question, man.
viewers?
Yeah, cool.
Thanks.
Really good question. So for me, if you're goal setting, think about your priorities muna. Because the one thing about journeys is like, especially if you're doing something really hard, like you're a geek like us and you want to do martial arts, do not expect advances. Parang just showing up is like 50% of the war, So the war is composed of little battles,
Mm-mm.
and showing up, yun na yun. Getting better, if you trust, ang daming cliche, but if you trust the process, meaning kung okay yung trainer mo, hiyang sa'yo, and you're not training any of the bullshido arts like yung mga chi, ganyan. Okay, let's not get into that. Yung mga nakikita nyo sabihin nyo, gumagano lang, tapos tumatalsik yung mga guys, okay, don't waste your time with that. Like, it's like the flat earth of martial arts. Don't waste your time.
Ay, may magagawa ka magalit.
Please lang. O, hindi, para advocacy ko namin kasi yun. May isa kaming show, like, we're trying to not get people killed because they think they can, like,
the bulletproof body, tapos chi lang ang gagamitin.
Ang dami natin dito. Holy shit, you would not believe. Anyway, it's a goal setting, di ba? Parang, if you can channel the showing up, the hard work, yung sinatawag naming gawin mo na lang, pero kung gagawin mo sanang maganda.
Nang tama.
Give it 110%, ganyan. And that doesn't mean parang pagod ka or i-push mo hard every time. It just means that you can give it your best at that time. Kung hindi mo ma-feel and your best is 50% less than yesterday, okay lang yun. Okay? At some point, you will not regret doing that, because that's how I got from, sitting around, beating myself up, not writing and just staring at that blinking cursor, to a couple of medals in martial arts, teaching martial arts, and having like
those badass books.
My name. Hopefully, yes, people think they're badass. Thank you for thinking they're badass.
I think they are. Tapos, what are they, if, siyempre, not all of them are inclined to do martial arts, but they want to be a writer like you. So what are the tips that you could, like, what are the top 5 tips you could provide? Kahit siguro 2 or 3 lang. Okay. What are, para mag-start sila? You point them in the right direction, so to speak.
Yeah. I actually advocate the same thing as the basta creative ka. For me kasi wala nang difference yung martial arts and liberal arts. So for me, if you're going to determine to be a writer, okay, be prepared to be poor for quite some time. Okay? Mamaluktot ka muna. Totoo naman, di ba, bro? Wala ba tayo? May nagtapon ba ng pera sa atin?
Wala naman. Even yung invites, even yung wala. Talagang pinaghirapan natin lahat yun.
So, grind siya, man. And you showed up. You most of all know that showing up and like at least posting once, posting twice, it's the same thing. Showing up, doing the work, kahit ayaw mo that day, Ako, dati nung nag-start prepare ako ng competition, ayoko mag-workout, pero kailangan ko mag-workout. Sige, workout na lang. Same thing with writing. Ayaw magsulat. Just write a few sentences. It's the same thing. You're showing up. So that's top two. Top one is, this is a journey. So don't expect to advance all the time. Sometimes you need to rest. That's also part of the journey. Sometimes you take a step back. Parang nag-regress ka. That's also part of the journey. But the thing is to keep doing what you love. Meaning, if you like to write and you know you love to write, you will find your direction because it's in here. Mahirap i-replace yung sinatawag na heart. The process has got to be smart, and hopefully at some point you find your mentor. You find, I hate to call it a guru, but maybe an idol or somebody you
A
can
big brother.
emulate. Yan, ganyan. Somebody will take you under your wing. Kasi I as much as we sell these days yung mga TED Talks and yung mga sino Neil Gaiman, yung mga masterclass, yung mga masterclass. Nothing can replace yung apprenticeship. It's
An actual
one of the
person
best
to
ways
be with, no?
Yes. To ask,
And then,
to form
mag-apply kayo
a
sa amin.
relationship with. Open kami.
Open kami.
To,
Coffee lang ang
Yes.
tsaka free time namin. No?
Mabait kami ni Tito Earl. Mabait kami.
Yes.
Yes.
Ayun. So, where can they find you, Tito Karl? How can they contact you, like your future padawans? How can they reach you?
First of all, there will be a beating, and then there will be learning. But I'm
Cesar,
on Facebook.
bulletproof arms.
Yes, exactly. So I'm on Facebook. It's Karl De Mesa author. I'm also on IG. It's Destroy THEE. Lagay na lang ni Tito Earl dyan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tapos,
So
where can they buy your books?
Yeah. So this one, everything else is kind of out of print. I'm looking to have them reprinted. But this one, the red one, is available on Shopee. I have a comics coming out. One of them is an excerpt in the upcoming Comiket launch sa end of the month. It's in the Peak-Off anthology called Darkness.
Yes, and gusto ko pumunta pero I will try. I'm busy. I love these guys pero syempre. Also, last question, how do you beat the Kobayashi Maru?
Oh my God, by not playing.
I just want to try you to test
By
you.
not
How do you
playing.
beat? By not playing. So
By
you're
not
doing
playing,
the Chris Pine the Chris Pine
Chris
answer.
Pine thing.
Ayun. So,
Thank you so much.
Tito, thank you so much for your time. I'm really happy you took the time para magano tayo sa
Thank you, man.
lang.
It has been an honor to be on
soon,
Fanboy SEO.
When I want to invite you again. Let's talk specifically tungkol sa sports lang. Pero kasi ngayon medyo tayo eh. Maraming
mahaba.
True. Di ba sa second season, guys, may second season. So, thank you, Tito Karl, and
Season
peace
2.
out. Bye.